All right, afternoon is now in session. E, thank you for that. I am pumped up. So is this crowd. How's everyone doing? Good lunch? Yeah? Has anyone learned anything today? Has anyone learned anything today? Yes, I certainly have. And we're excited to keep the learning going. Pleased and privileged to announce the next panel. This moderator, I've had a chance to work with her a lot, and she always shines in the seat. Jenny Lamboy, please come to the stage, and let's get this thing going. Give her a round of applause.
We good? Can you guys hear me? Here comes my gang. Thank you. Awesome. So 30 minutes is going to go really quickly. That flute intro probably got you in the mood for a really spicy conversation. I'm just teasing. So a couple bits of housekeeping before I introduce my dear friends and colleagues on this panel. We won't be doing a Q&A, so go ahead and hit these guys up on LinkedIn. We want to make sure the conversation continues to happen. The other thing, too, I want to get a sense of who in the audience are retailers. Raise a hand. Retailers on this side. Brands? New Jersey-specific organizations? Should be, okay, awesome, sweet. These are my friends. I've got Jeff, Stella, Donny, Brendon. We're talking about trust within the New Jersey marketplace. This is a $1.16 billion market, according to BDSA, for 2025. We're going to jump in, actually, and pivot the topic, to be honest. As we did a pre-panel conversation, we realized the biggest piece of how we need to battle price compression, competing on price, competing on potency is really specific to target audience. We'll go ahead and give you actionable items as well toward the end of the conversation. My first question, though, if you operate in the New Jersey market, you probably recognize that a lot of retail operators are driving down price by doing store-wide sales at 20% off, 30% off. Brands are also within that game. What we're not seeing enough of is value brands. We're really starting to train the audience on how to price shop. Those folks are really only popping into retail operations once. They're looking market to market, store to store, figuring out who's got the steepest deal and converting there. That's a behavior that we don't want. What we're trying to do is kind of collect the New Jersey market. Brendon, I'd love for you to kind of give some insights on how do we pivot the way that we've started to train the consumers and also trained ourselves as a B2B space.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, good afternoon, everyone. All right. I've been really fortunate to kind of see this market through both a macro and micro lens. A micro lens being the work I do with Mud Brothers Cannabis Company. More macro lens, obviously, the work I do with the New Jersey Cannabis Chamber. And, to your point, pricing and potency is just a race to the bottom, right? Customers, retailers, so on and so forth, they want value. And more importantly, they want trust. Right, they want brands they could believe in, storytelling, education, information, right? And quite frankly, if you're a brand out here, the guy or gal that's trying to save $5 on an eighth probably isn't your best customer, right? They're probably not going to come back, right? You're chasing loyalty, you're chasing collaboration. So I think in the market, if as we're all running our different businesses and so on and so forth, it's just critical to take that approach and really put more into your collaborations, your bud tenders, your customer experience, creating things that people can find memorable, versus just chasing price and potency.
Awesome. I'll also give a little bit of background too. So not only New Jersey Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, we've got 2 dispensary owners here, as well as Stella is CannaContent. So when we talk about brand marketing that moves the needle and resonates based on target audience, Stella, give us a little bit more information on what are we doing and what's the importance of engaging the right target audience?
The first thing I'm going to tell any client, retail or brand, is if your audience is anybody 21 plus with a wallet, you are dead on arrival. Because once you get to a point where you are marketing to everybody and you try to be everything to everyone, you become nothing to nobody. What does that have to do with price compression, right? So Brendon touched on this already, where we're actually in a position where folks are if someone is already looking for a deal, they're already store shopping, right? They're not coming back because they are looking for that price. They know where to look for that price. And if you are, let's use, there's only so much as prices get cheaper over the next months and years. There's only so much you're going to be able to go down. So what happens is you're eating into your margin while you're giving folks and shoppers and patients no real patients, but you're giving folks and other shoppers no real reason to come back to you because you haven't convinced them. Because once everybody is cheap, where are you left standing? And if you're not left with anything to stand on, you're going to be in big trouble. And this is something that we've seen in markets outside New Jersey. We've seen this. I'll give you an example in Michigan where we saw this, where, we had a client who, we worked with someone whose brand identity was not all together, but they were primed in every other way. And they went bankrupt, right? Like they didn't survive because their strategy was, we're going to be the cheapest. We're going to put out those dollar pre-rolls. We're going to be cheapest, and we're going to be everybody on price. And they couldn't keep up, and they failed. And this is something, I've been doing this for almost 9 years. This is a story that has been telling itself over and over and over again in every market. So while in New Jersey, we can call ourselves relatively early, I guess, to this conversation, it takes a lot of time to build a brand. It is not just your logo. It is how people feel about you. It's how people are passionate about you. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in this industry where people think that there is not a moment of maturity where people are just going to buy whatever weed is closest to them. Those customers are always going to be there, right? But where is your tribe? Where are your people when things start getting difficult? When everyone else is competing on price, where you don't have that competitive advantage. And that's where the brand identity comes in and becomes so important. We see in data over and over and over again. We see this on social media. We see this across everywhere. People want to shop with places that are aligned to their values, right? Whether they want to support woman-owned, queer-owned, black-owned, whatever that designation is, or they want to, support a brand that they know is growing to, X certain practices, or they like that it's a family business or whatever that value is. Those are the kind of things that build those relationships and help people coming back over and over again. When price shoppers, this is what we've seen, anecdotally, we see this over and over again. The price shoppers are just going to go with whatever is going to be the cheapest, and especially as a retailer, it just keeps eating to those margins and you don't win.
So there's a huge plug for brand identity and putting in the investment and resources into creating who you are, how you're showing up in the market. Jeff comes from a background of storytelling, so when we talk about brand identity, additionally brand story as well. But who's on the end of that brand story? What I keep saying is target audience. Jeff, you keep nodding your head throughout everything that Stella said. So give us a little bit more information on the importance of finding your target audience.
Absolutely. So I moved to New Jersey from California about 2.5 years ago, so had watched that story that Stella was describing, very close up, and also in other markets. And so from the beginning, with what we've been doing, we have been very committed to the brand investment and trying to make sure that it's very, very clear and very, very obvious what we care about. I think, not everybody on our founding team had that experience because a lot of them are New Jersey people. They hadn't seen that story before. So there was a period in the beginning where it was sort of like, whoa, we're going to take the money that we're making and we're going to spend it on making a brand out of it? Like, are we really going to do that? Right now, as we see this moment is happening, is when that conversation is over, right? We are seeing the results of that investment, and the main thing that really has worked is we looked into who we are and what we care about and made sure that that was extremely, extremely well expressed in every possible way, from the way that we hire people, even the Google form that people fill out when they come to apply for a job has questions on it that really matter to us, not just about whether you're going to be good at being a bud tender or an inventory manager, but about the values and the things that we care about. In our case, that's very strong opinions about quality and about practices and about just things that matter to people who are really passionate about cannabis, and that's how we look at it. So from our, I'm wearing a jacket that we made. We're a very creativity forward bunch. We learned that really quickly, and it's not just because I used to be a filmmaker and actually did that for a lifestyle. There's a guy on our team who's a supervisor who had a fashion line, and there's another guy on our team who's a painter, and we found that it really was true, that was something that we all sort of coalesced around, and we have leaned into that, and we believe that the plant is connected to creativity in a really strong way, among other things. And so as far as, communicating something useful to other people, like for us, it has been very much an experiment in integrity and how straightforward can we be about what we really care about. And the answer is, the more clear and the more authentic and the more straightforward we are about what we care about, the better we connect with the customers.
That's hard to put into practice, I imagine.
Yes.
It's hard, to convince your team to go that way, to spend budgets in that direction.
Yeah, it is. I think, there's an existential thing looming, right? Like you have to do it. We knew that. Like you could compete on price if you had a war chest of $50 million to outlast the guy down the street, right? Like you can win a price war if you have enough capital, but we don't. So we knew that this day would come, that the price competition would happen, and so that was the main motivation to make the investment. I think that, to be honest, it has come from an investment in self-confidence, not just in us personally, but in our beliefs about why we are here. And I think enough people have been in this industry long enough to know that if you were here because you read a news article in 2019 or 2020 that said you're going to be printing money and you're going to have an island by 2023, you're probably not here anymore, or you are you probably need a therapist badly. So I think for the people that are here, doubling and tripling down on what that reason is, I think is the path to finding out how to do it.
Well, as we collected before this panel, just to kind of get a sense of what is the unique competitive differentiator, I would say, among the folks on the panel, I think, Donny, you've got such a strong voice in this space. Specifically during that pre-panel call, I think you said, quote, "I don't listen to my marketing agency." Which is, to be honest, the reason that he gave
I said I challenge him all the time. Don't listen that much.
Reason being, because he specifically comes from a real estate background, specifically found a rock-solid location, knows his target audience, knows that it's different than Jeff's target audience, it's different than Brendon's target audience. Give us a little bit more on why specifically you said something like that to me, the marketing agency.
I apologize if I'm still.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I half agree with my colleagues.
I'm good.
I think that we all run our own race, and this is a dogfight, and it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of answer. If you can't dance, get out of cannabis. You got to pivot. So, with all due respect, you can plan all these great things out and have a whole culture behind it, but things change in a dime. And you got to be able to pivot and change in a dime, too. So that blows a lot of your planning out of the water when you got to just switch on a dime. I'm in a location where I have some competition. We're on a border state, so Bergen County and Rockland County. And we know our audience pretty well, and, we discount. I don't discount myself out of business, but if I do discount, I get it back from the vendors. Our loyalty program is Stella. People love it, and we discount good stuff. You come to our store, the first time you walk in, 10% off. Second time, 15, third time, 20. We're giving that away, but I also believe, we're discounting it, we're taking a hit, but how else can I get customer loyalty if I can't get you back in my store?
Right.
So, we watch it very carefully. But then again, we have people that come in every day with a list of other people and shopping price. Right. $1 here, $1 here, legit. Your advice was, well, don't discount it. No way. But all right, then they walk out of my store and never come back in. Right. I'm not saying I don't agree with you, and your answer was just stronger brand awareness. But at the end of the day, I have $250,000 of expenses, $50,000 in payroll. I got to feed families. I got to sell weed and get people in and out of my store.
Right.
There's a happy medium here, right? It's not never discount. I want to be clear. I'm not against sales. I'm against being 50% off all the time and price matching everybody else, because that's what erases you. And you actually said something super important about cannabis and needing to be flexible and potentially needing to kind of burn the house down and rebuild it, right? That speaks again to the importance of brand, because the entire point of developing a brand identity is to have a bedrock. You cannot pick the colors of the wall and put in the furniture before the house is built. This is the foundation analogy I use constantly. If the foundation gives you a place to start, because if we do have to pivot and make changes, which happens all the time, weekly, daily, we have to make changes to things, having the brand as a guide ensures that we don't get erased in front of customers. They're not confused. Well, what's your name? Why do you look different now? How are you different? And, the regulatory environment really shapes this, mostly out of New Jersey, but shapes this, things like this. So I think it does all come back down to, well, who are you talking to? Why are you talking to them? And can they recognize what you're doing? So, yeah, spot on.
I do listen to my marketing people, but very argumentatively on a regular basis. And the one thing I hear all the time, and I just can't stand it, and I apologize again if I think anyone it's trial and error. Well, we'll try it. Oh, so drop $30,000 this month just to try something? Come on. There's definitely things that work first. For me, the trial stuff is once you're stable, once you're cash flowing, then you can start, going that. But we're also starting this, and I know you're doing this, is, digital advertising and co-oping with brands. Get the brands in on the game with you. I mean, there's a way to do it. You just got to get creative. And, brands tend to be less risky on the gray line in advertising than us retailers. But, co-oping we're just starting it, is the way to go. I mean, I've been told to do it for the last bunch of months, but, retailers, the brands, they're skeptical still, to chip in with retailers on advertising.
It's interesting. We have found that by doing a lot of early relationship building with specific producers, for example, for us, we don't bring a brand into our store unless we visited the grow personally. We have a not the biggest menu. We have products and brands that we take it very seriously if we're going to carry them, and a lot of them are smaller brands that don't have a marketing budget of their own, in some cases at all.
We spend a lot of money on other brand advertising.
Yeah, and so we take on some of that responsibility to let the public know about some of these brands that can't get their names out there, because we believe in what they're doing. And by the way, we also do discount. We have a good discounting program. But
that failed for us, by the way. That failed for us miserably, right?
It's really interesting.
I came up and I was like, I'm going to only carry 700 SKUs. We're going to really put a lot into who we're carrying and stuff. And I was losing business because I didn't have enough variety.
Yeah.
And I don't have the time to visit, but we tried that where we are now, because I guess we're in the Jersey border. It's just variety. People want variety. We went from 750 SKUs to 1,300 overnight. And people are now, who we lost, are coming back in because we have the variety, and we didn't have it before. So for us, it backfired, personally.
I'll just chime in because it's an interesting conversation. With us, I think the biggest component to our success has been not just advertising and marketing, but collaboration. We do our muddy tastings every quarter where we bring our top customers, top retailers, top Mud Brothers fans out, and we all, give them our products that are up and coming and things like that. And that goes a long way, not towards just growing the brand, but just building the hype around the brand, the confidence in the brand. I think a crucial thing in New Jersey, guys, is that it's not the novelty market it was 12 months ago. Prices are shrinking, margins are thinner, shelves are full. To you guys' point, a lot of brands don't have the marketing dollars to put behind supporting you in the way you probably want to be supported, right? So you got to get outside the box. You got to do different innovative activations together to really just show folks that, you're standing in line with one another and you're pushing both brands forward at the same time.
Well, just to kind of give you a sense of how the market has changed over the last 12 months, from 2025 January to January 2026, flower sales are up, edible sales are down, vape sales are up. So when we start to think about marketing toward a specific target audience based on not only their shopping cadence, but what they're putting in baskets, that's going to be one of the biggest pieces of solving the puzzle of how do you come to the market in a way that is impactful and where you're rewarding folks based on loyalty for shopping again and again and again versus rewarding the bargain shopper. Brendon, talk a little bit about the importance of showing up as a solid brand and business partner to the folks that you're working with.
I mean, it's everything, right? I mean, if you're working with a retailer, the last thing Jeff wants is a surprise, right? You know what I mean? He wants to be able to know that, okay, if I purchase someone's product, they're not only going to sell it to me, sell in, they're going to sell through. You know, and you see too often that brands kind of get their wholesale sale and they go about their business. We don't subscribe to that. You know, we're going to do what we can do to make sure that it gets pushed through your store, that, your customers know that we're a part of your team, essentially. You know, you think about we do raffles with customers. So every month, the customers that come in and buy Mud Brothers products, we'll actually run a raffle and give them something, special or access to a special event. But, those things go a long way towards just tightening those ties, right? And showing you're all in. The other piece I'll say, guys, I come from the banking world. I think the bud tenders are the tellers to cannabis, right? Where you got to educate them. You can't expect these folks to sell your products when they don't know who you are, what you represent, what you do, so on and so forth. Now, I recognize that there's a lot of online sales that happen kind of coming into the store, but it's still crucial that the bud tenders know what they're pushing before they go out there and put their names behind it.
So what's your opinion? You hire a really good salesperson who's a bud tender or someone who really knows a lot about cannabis? It's very rare you have both.
I have to say, for us, it is both. We are maybe we're fortunate, but the people that work in our stores really know a lot about cannabis. I would say they're not. They probably wouldn't be good at the trick where it's here's a pen. Can you sell this pen to a random guy on the street? I don't think that they're professionalized salespeople in that way, and I don't know that they're familiar with tactical expertise, but I would say that their passion makes them very good salespeople, and they have very deep connections with customers that are clearly driving a lot of our business. So for us, it's the same story, right? It's as I think, based on what we're saying and the things that are so different between us, I feel like as long as you're consistent, you're probably going to find that target audience. It's if we were half doing that, right? If we were all about the products and the menu, and then you come in and our people don't know anything, that would be very weird. And I think so. I think as long as it's a consistent strategy and a position, and people know who you are and what you're about, you can have a thing that works.
So, I got lucky. I've had no turnover in staff. We pay our staff probably double than any other bud tender makes because they have real jobs too, marketing, analytics. So we have no GM. Everyone has an important job in the company. But I can tell you, they're all passionate about cannabis, and they sell pretty well. But then my son, who's never smoked weed in his entire life, right? He's 23 years old. He's kind of like me. He can sell ice to an Eskimo. And he spends time in the store, listens to everybody else, and he's selling weed like crazy and knows nothing about weed. He's a salesman. So I think it's an important mix because, selling is hard. So sometimes we have staff, the passion gets in the way. There's a 25-minute, half-hour conversation and 12 people online. So if you can train them, I think it's great. But I was going for just the salesman or saleswomen aspect. Luckily, I found a decent mix, but the ones who know more about it, more passionate about it, sell less, I think. And the ones who know how to sell are selling a lot of weed.
I would think and you all probably know this, but at the root of a strong salesman or saleswoman is the ability to relate to the audience, read the room, take the time to actually invest in conversation. That's where you allow that person on the other end of the transaction to start to let you know what it is they're looking for, sometimes more specifically what it is that they're not looking for, an experience. And I think sometimes what gets lost in this, it's a fast moving market, maybe not as fast as what we see in New York City, where folks are just shopping by convenience. New Jersey, we're shopping primarily by price. But to take that time to have those conversations, it actually comes back to who you are as a brand, back to brand identity. This is how we show up. This is how we communicate. This is what we bring to our customers. So, again, we're just trying to provide actionable tactics, which I want to move into that next, specific to your target audience, specific to who you are as a brand. give the folks some tips on what's worked and maybe what hasn't worked as far as marketing and sales tactics. Jump in there.
I can start.
Yep.
For us, which obviously you've gotten the impression that we're like kind of community-oriented and passionate, customers focused. Events have been awesome for us. Events have been a way for us to really get to know the people in our audience, and it's been a way for us to do it with the brands helping support those expenses. So a lot of times we have done some great events, and they've come out to be very inexpensive for us because everyone that we work with, all the brands that we're partnered with, see the value in doing those events. So of course we have to do the legwork of planning and making it happen, but the events have been really effective for us. I think similarly on the opposite side, Leafly was really not effective for us. And I think that's because exactly the same reason, right? Like I don't think that people who identify themselves as like I'm a cannabis expert or whatever, I don't know that that's their platform. So I don't know that it seems like it sort of makes sense to me that would have been something that didn't work as well.
Sure. I want you guys to all write this down. If you're in New Jersey, join the New Jersey Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm having a little fun, but just in all seriousness, it's about really getting around other operators who are serious like you are. I can't emphasize this enough, guys. You walk in a room with 100 people, not many of them are going to think the way successful operators in the state think because, again, it just takes a lot of creativity, some might say a little psychotic, but anyway, it's about just really putting yourself in a realm with folks that are doing things in a way that you can relate to, right? Me and my brother, with my brothers, we're authentic to who we are, and we've created a niche within the market, and they rock with us, right? But that doesn't mean that the next person could do the same thing. But the next person can be authentic to themselves, and they can push their brand in a way that makes sense for them and their audience. And I feel like people are gravitating to that as time goes on. The fake is kind of fading and the real is sticking around. So I think that's a really important piece.
I'm going to break it down to two categories of what's most successful for our clients. Authenticity is really at the root of a lot of things, and creativity is at the root of a lot of things as well. So when we involve the retail staff in our social media marketing strategies for the retailers or the brands, those posts, those videos outperform because you get to see the people who are, the stewards of your experience being real people, and that really that they perform much. But you get to see how these folks live. You get that authenticity, and that helps with the brand building as well. From the creativity standpoint, we're finding that a lot of the customers in the retail setting enjoy like tangible experiences. So we've done scratch-offs for retailers. That has done incredibly well. Those disappeared. March Madness is coming up. Shoot a basket, get a free pre-roll or discounted pre-roll situation. Those kind of anything that's like hands-on and encourages folks to increase that basket size, add more to their purchase. And remember, they had fun when they went. They enjoyed themselves. So that means they might drive that extra minute and spend that extra dollar when someone else, even if someone else is $2 cheaper closer down the road. So it all builds up to relationship building. So think about outside the box. Think about rewarding those customers. We touched on loyalty before, and getting creative with it and having fun with it, and community for sure. So we I live in Cleveland now, and pierogi. There's a pierogi week in January, right? So what did some of the dispensaries do? They went to the local restaurants and were talking about the pierogi that they can get there, and and tying with the community. That all stuff really does really well. Does really well for visibility and brand identity as well.
Donny, what do you got?
So I operate where I grew up, so a little bit different home court advantage. So I rely a lot on relationships with other businesses in town or the county. So we do a lot of cross collaboration with everything from pizza shops to dry cleaners to bars and restaurants. So a lot of guerrilla marketing has been working for us, even though it's not working enough, but it's working. The scratch roll thing is great. Spin the wheel. I mean, people come to your store, they'll spend $30 extra to spin the wheel to win a free pre-roll. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So it works really, really well. And then we've been doing the direct marketing, direct mailers. For us, I mean, we're getting average of 4 to 10 a day of people that come in without coupon, without call to action, from the direct mailers. So that's working pretty well. But our loyalty program, I think, really crushes it. You know, I mean, you come through our store, you spend $100, you get every dollar you spend. Now, screw the whole thing up. Thanks, Josh. So our loyalty is you can cash in at 2 points or 4 points. So every $100 you spend, you get a point. So basically, people come shop in our store a couple times. For 2 points, you can get a free pre-roll or a pack of edibles. And then for 4 points, any eighth in the store or any 1 gram vape that's non-live resin or rosin. So people don't have to wait to spend thousands of dollars to get a free T-shirt. So I think our loyalty is crushing it. People love it because every few visits, every 3-4 visits, they're getting something free.
I'll also just
for $1.
I'll just speak to creating campaigns that are what we would call a PRable moment. So travel agency is a client that Stella and I share. If you all paid attention to their pigeon project where they brought in a whole a whole narrative of carrier pigeons who were carrying branded little backpacks with the travel agency brand to deliver weed. The message that came out to the New York market is, hey, we deliver. Like if you think about the longevity of such a campaign, they got picked up, tons of earned media. So
Birds have names. It's a whole thing.
There's bird tenders, bud tenders. So as you're thinking of the marketing mix, campaigns, scratch-offs, loyalty, all of those pieces, again, they have to be in line with who you are as a brand. We are out of time. Thank you so much. Please hit these guys up on LinkedIn.